G'day! In today's video I'm just having a bit of a rant regarding the NBN, as we've some news of about 4 days ago in America. The FCC has announced that to be acceptable broadband speed you have to be 100 meg down and 20 meg up, which as of 2024 that does seem like a very reasonable thing. The dilemma here is, over here in Australia that is not the case, and also over in Australia, if you're getting a 100 meg connection right now, as a minimum, you're probably going pretty well and you're probably a part of a minority. Right now I get around 100 meg down and about 20 meg up, so by the definition of the US broadband, I get that here. That is in a business with fibre to the node, and then I've got copper going up to the exchange, well, to the node, which is only, luckily for me in the CBD, about 4 shops away. So basically I'm usually always getting a 100 meg connection. That's using Aussie Broadband, which is one of the more premium providers. Definitely not Telstra or Optus, which are both usually, I would say, pretty garbage, but mainly their technical support, I'd much rather deal with Aussie Broadband. At home though is another story. At home I live in one of the older streets in town, which means the copper lines that are in my street are absolute garbage, especially in winter. Where at one point when I was with Aussie Broadband around about 2 or 3 years ago now, my internet speed dropped from about 48 meg down to about 20 meg down to about 5. And 5 meg in 2017, 2018, 2020 was almost the norm. I decided to cancel then and there, and I went with Optus 4G internet, which at the time could give me a speed up to anywhere close to probably around 200 to 300 meg at peak times, or at peak download speed for me. Peak times it would drop considerably, but I've noticed a continual trend of that spiraling down the drain as well, where just this morning before I came in, ran a speed test, 50 meg down, 25 meg up. And that's using 4G internet in town, and I'm curious now, if I was to switch back to NBN, if I would actually get an equivalent speed of that. The dilemma that I've got though is that since the rollout of the NBN in 2011, way back in 2011, it has not really helped too much. Most of the actual companies seem to be trying to innovate themselves, or at least the good ones. Other ones just try to piggyback off one another and try to make their service look better. I had one customer come in, he said he's got a Dodo internet connection and his speed drops to about 3 meg in peak time, yet during the rest of the day he's getting about 40 meg, but as soon as it gets to school finishing time, to about 10 o'clock at night, it's virtually unusable for him. It's crazy to think that over the years internet speed has jumped from a 256k in ADSL connection up to an 8 megabit connection, which if you got that sustained back in, I'm not even sure when that was now, it's been a while now, probably say 2005 era, maybe 2010, getting an 8 megabit connection, you were flying on the internet. Nowadays that's not really the case. Nowadays I've found that at one point my NBN or my 4G Optus had throttled. It was school holidays, kids streamed the hell out of Netflix, and it completely crippled the net to the point that I couldn't actually pay Optus to get more. I would either have to cancel my plan and resubscribe, as I'd recharged too much over that time. Kids were averaging about anywhere from about 20 to 40 gig a day, and I could only recharge in 40 gig blocks up to the point of 5, and then it capped itself. So what happened after that? It dropped down to a 1.5 meg connection, to the point that even simple stuff like Facebook wouldn't load. Gmail was struggling to actually talk to the server. It would just completely crap out. Try to stream any form of music, it would just chop and change, stop and start. A 1.5 meg connection is not usable in 2024. Even though that was a sustained 1.5 meg, it was still absolutely shocking. And I can definitely see how people with an 8 megabit or lower, potentially even 12 megabit and lower connection would suffer. If you had a household with kids in it, and all of a sudden 3 people wanted to watch Netflix, or one Netflix, YouTube, anything that involves videos. Granted, the household at the time, housemate was using TikTok quite a bit, and that would have been killing that 1.5 meg connection flat out. Absolutely ridiculously. Short 30-second videos on a 1.5 meg connection, constantly scrolling, trying to play. It was not a fun time. Anyway, that brings me back to my internet connection right now. As I tested it at around about 8 o'clock this morning, 8 a.m, it was 50 meg down, 25 meg up. A good ratio to have, but considerably worse considering, I believe, less than a year ago, it was going anywhere from 150, 200 meg to around 40 meg to 25 meg up. The ratio has dropped considerably. I'd assume it's more of an oversubscription of the network nowadays, but it comes back to NBN, where if I can't get a better connection using cable, why would I bother going back to cable? And by cable, I just refer to NBN. If I have a physical cord coming to my house and a physical cord plugging into everything, if that's not getting me a better internet speed than the wireless 4G that I've already got, is it worthwhile changing back? Especially when the prices are essentially more. Basically, what I'm getting at is internet's always seemed to be it's basically an essential resource, or essential, people would typically have water, power, gas, internet. It's the fourth thing that's popped up. Granted, you could live by with just water and electricity, depending on your heating and cooling, but at my house I've only got electricity, I don't have gas, so at the bare minimum we could have water, electricity, and carry on with life just fine. But we're definitely used to the customs of internet nowadays. It's just everywhere. But if you tried to cut that out nowadays, you couldn't. But at the same time, it seems to be slowly creeping up in price. Definitely seems like that in certain areas they're trying to recoup the money that they've spent on other developments. So they might have essentially charging for what might be fibre to the node here, but they're trying to recoup money from fibre to the premises over there. Otherwise, it's a long-winded rant that I've got. Overall, 2014, internet speeds still suck. Prices are pretty poor. Funnily enough, Starlink, that seems to be the saviour for most people at the moment, getting over 100 to 200 meg plus on a consistent connection, which funnily enough, it's just third party entered in, come out of left field, and they're going for the gold. If those prices can come down, they'd get more subscribers. More subscribers means that the speed will probably drop, and in turn, it becomes congested. I guess you get what you pay for. That'll do. Bye.